sister shotgun. It's a nice day to start again.
It's a nice day to start again, everybody. Billy Idol's with us, by the way. Everybody, we are here with a rock and roll legend. And I think we should do something from now on here at City Hall. Like every time we're going to announce a major new policy, we're going to walk on to White Wedding. I just think we should do that in general. It's going to be a thing now. So this is a really, really serious issue, and we're coming at it today with music, with a message, with a little bit of edge because it's Billy Idol. But I have to tell you, I've been a fan of his for a long, long time. And I've been a fan of his because his music said something. That's right. And spoke to a lot of people. And when I was coming up, we were just talking about this, that Billy meets people all over who come up to him and tell him what the songs meant to them, particularly as they were, coming of age. And so I always loved deeply the simple line from Eyes Without a Face. I spend so much time believing all the lies. And I think it's very pertinent to what we're going to talk about today. It's very pertinent to many things going on in our society. But when it comes to how we handle automobiles, how we think cars are supposed to be everything in our society, regardless of what it does to us, I think we've all spent a lot of time believing a lot of lies. And then the other line that moves me, which you just heard, because I think it epitomizes, like, we all get to decide, we all get to change things if we want to change things. It doesn't have to be this way, is it's a nice day to start again. I think it's one of this beautiful line. It says so much. That's right. Says so much. It's filled with so much possibility. It's got a little bit of edge, but it's filled with possibility. And Billy, I want to thank you. And I want to thank you because I know you love this city. And everyone, we're going to hear from Billy in a minute because I know he loves this place. He was here during the formative years of the punk era, which was an amazing time in New York City. He was part of that. He also is someone who cares about this earth, cares about the environment, and like all of us, doesn't want to see us breathing bad air we don't need to breathe. So this is like an amazing thing for all of us to be able to do something good, but to do it with someone so special. So Billy, I just want to start by saying thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you. So, why does idling matter? Just listen to what young people are telling us. That couldn't be clearer. That climate strike told you everything you needed to know. We are running out of time. We're running out of time. We're not running out of just our time, those of us who've been around for a while. We're really using up other people's time in a way that's just not fair. If you're 20 years old, if you're 15 years old, if you're 10 years old, what all of us do matters to you a hell of a lot more than it matters to the rest of us. And we owe you the opportunity to get it right. So the kids that day, we were walking right down Broadway, and the kids, if you read those signs, they just grabbed you. They grabbed you about a truth we have to come to grips with. So when I think of all the things we need to change to save our earth, some of them are tough. We still have to do them. Some of them are not tough at all. Idling is just stupid. I mean, we all do it, but we don't need to. Sitting there in a car, not going anywhere, and running the engine anyway, and polluting the environment, and anyone who's walking by is breathing bad air. It makes no sense. It doesn't have to be. But we just have to recognize it. We have to do something different. So I have been really pissed off about idling for a long time.
Amen, Mayor de Blasio.
And we've started to go at those who idle, but it's time to do something more. So I'll be real clear. In New York City, we are declaring war on idling. because it does matter. It's part of the whole equation. It does matter because it doesn't have to be this way. It's a good day. It's a nice day to start again.
That's right.
So, here's what it means. If we stopped unnecessary idling in New York City, it would mean the equivalent of taking 18,000 cars off the road every single day. All that pollution would be gone. Ask anyone. I happen to have asthma. Ask anybody who has asthma what it means to them that all that pollution is out there. Ask parents of kids with respiratory problems. And that primarily means, in so many places, kids come from families with lower incomes. This is a part of the problem, but it's one of the most fixable parts of the problem. So we're not just announcing a policy today. This is participatory. We're announcing today that every New Yorker can be a part of this. We all know a phrase that we live by. It's a very serious phrase. If you see something, say something. Well, here's another version of that. If you see a truck or a bus idling, if you see them breaking the law and polluting the earth, you, right there, can take action. You can help us protect our earth. You can help us keep our air clean. You can do it. And we will not only thank you, we will pay you. We will pay you to do the right thing. Some of you might have been here. I'm going to do another hook here. Some of you might have been here when we had the incredible ceremony honoring the U.S. women's soccer team. Remember? Remember what people in the audience kept saying? Pay them? All right. We're going to pay people who help us stop idling. Now, we want you to remember how important this is. So we needed a voice of conscience. We needed a name that people would recognize and respect. We needed a devilishly handsome front man. So when you want to find out how you can protect our air, protect our earth, go to BillyNeverIdles.nyc. BillyNeverIdles.nyc. At the count of three, say it with me. 1, 2, 3. BillyNeverIdles.nyc. We all got it. My fellow New Yorkers, let's do this together. Let's do this right. You do the right thing, and we'll all be better off. If you don't do the right thing and you're idling, we're coming for you. It's as simple as that. Now, everybody, a few words in Spanish, because New York City, we are the world. No vamos a tolerar que los conductores dejen sus motores encendidos. Y a los neoyorquinos, si ven un infractor, digan algo. Escuchen a Billy Idol. Vamos a proteger el futuro de nuestros niños. So, whether you say it in English or whether you say it in Spanish, this guy has one of the coolest names ever, by the way. He cares about our city, he cares about our earth. His music has moved so many people and given a lot of us a sense that maybe there was a better way to do things, and today he is showing us there's a better way to do things. What a joy to present to you Billy Idol.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody. Yes, I grew up very young. My first memories of America, I grew up on Patchogue, Long Island, and Rockville Center. And then I had to go back to England to get this accent, because it really comes in handy. And I came back in the 80s of my solo career, and you helped me ignite my solo career. So I just wanted to give back to the city, and when I heard about this campaign, it just made sense. It's amusing, but at the same time, it's very serious. If you can, shut off your engine and save my health, help my lungs. I need my lungs to breathe and sing. But thank you for taking notice of this, and thank you for all being here today. And it's my privilege to be doing this. Thank you. And shut it off! Billy Never Idles! No way!
No, do a chant. We need a chant.
Billy Never Idles! Billy Never Idles! Billy Never Idles!
Billy never idles! Billy never idles! Yeah! Billy never idles! Yeah! Billy never idles! Woo! Right on. You're having too much fun, Billy. But we're going to do another chant. Shut it off. Who wants to do shut it off here?
Yes.
Ready? Count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Shut it off. Shut it off. Shut it off. Shut it off. Shut it off.
Shut it off.
Very good.
Shut it off.
This is a group that can really chant. I'm impressed. Okay, now, I want to hear from our colleagues. And first of all, just some credit where credit is due first. You know, this beautiful idea, getting Billy involved and helping him lead the way on this, I want to give credit to two unsung heroes at the Department of Environmental Protection, Jackie Lockman and Michael Deloche. Let's thank them. And a thank you, our Deputy Mayor for Operations, Laura Anglin, our DEP Commissioner, Vinnie Sapienza, the Chief of Transportation at the NYPD, William Morris, and the Fleet Manager, the guy who takes care of all our cars. He's going to make sure we shut them off, Keith Kerman. Thank you, everybody.
Good luck on that.
Now, that's right. Now, everybody, we've got with us colleagues from the City Council, and I want to thank them. They have been so supportive of all the efforts on climate change. They've led the way on the City Council. This City Council passed the single strongest bill on earth to retrofit all these buildings and protect our earth and end emissions. Let's thank all the council members for that. Thank you, Council Member Danny Drum. Thank you, Council Member Jimmy Van Bramer. Thank you, Council Member Robert Cornegie. And we're going to hear from two council members now. She has been a leader on this issue, lead sponsor legislation that helped to update the citizen enforcement program that helps us stop idling. Council Member Helen Rosenthal. You here?
Hey,
Oh, you're behind me. Okay. I like that.
how are you?
I'm sorry, we have a height difference.
We do, we do, thank you. I'm going to use this opportunity to take a selfie. All right, I can sit down now. Listen, there's a reason that idling is illegal. The soot and particles lead to higher risks of asthma, cancer, and heart disease, and particularly in the low-income communities that are truck thoroughfares, rates of childhood hospitalizations due to asthma are the highest in the Bronx, East and Central Harlem, and Central Brooklyn. My 2018 legislation made it far easier for New Yorkers to push back against commercial trucks and buses that are idling in our communities, and I commend the de Blasio administration for pushing the ball even further. The campaign being launched today will put all drivers on notice that they need to turn off their engines when their vehicles are not in use. Our most overburdened neighborhoods will receive aggressive enforcement support and will begin to turn the tide on this idle threat to public health. Now, it was there. I couldn't. I'd like to stress that we've made it as easy as possible for New Yorkers to submit their complaints via the DEP website. And now you can go to BillyNeverIdles.nyc. I really want to thank George Pakenham, who brought this idea to my attention. He's right here, George. Thank you for all of your efforts, your movies, your children's books, the number of information sheets that you've passed out over 5 years to people who are idling. You really have led the way on this. Thank you. Look, we all play a role. Every New Yorker can help push back against idling. And similarly, I encourage all drivers, simply turn off your engines whenever possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well done. Well done. And now, the chair of the Transportation Committee in the City Council, a longtime champion for reducing emissions, Idanis Rodriguez.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. And Billy, thank you. And of course, we can have to also use this momentum to send a prayer to the family of the children who lost his life this morning, crossing in the intersection. I know, Mr. Mayor, that you break your heart because we cannot deny that you are the leader fighting to change the culture of drivers in New York City. And in this case, when one more time another child dying is tough, it's too much. But when it comes to the reason why we are here today, no doubt that we have to address idling in our community. My white progressive, be ready to fight for the underserved New Yorkers, for the 35 New Yorkers that live in underserved community, that they dealing with asthma and obesity. Do your part because we use the same air. It doesn't matter if the streets are polluted in the South Bronx, Brooklyn, Washington Heights. At the end of the day, we use the same air from Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, and Manhattan. So this initiative that being announced today by the mayor, great champion also for environmental justice here, saying we can do better, is very important. It sends a message not only to the 8.6 million New Yorkers and for the 20-something million that stay in New York, but for the whole nation. New York City is committed to fight, to lead the nation fighting for climate justice. So this is not just idling. This is about getting ready as we will be celebrating our Earth Day in April. And I know that through DOT Commission, there's a big plan for Sunday, April 20, as part of many other things that will happen. But, we shared yesterday, New York City is one of the cities that rely mainly on public transportation. Only 1.4 million New Yorkers own cars, and we are 8.6 million. So more than 7 million New Yorkers, they walking, they using bike, they using ferry, they using trains. So we need to send a message loud and clear to the 1.1 individual like myself, who also had to admit that, sometimes we live in community, had 2 children going around. At one point, I hope that I will have the privilege to live in the Upper West Side, to live in the Upper East Side. If you live there, you don't need a car.
That's right.
You have so many buses. You have so many trains. If you need one, rent it. Zip car. So, and of course, I'm not going to be, putting the mayor on the spot, but there's, as the mayor said, in the previous administration, there was a lot of things that we tried to do, and we were not able to do it. And many of them are things that we've been able to accomplish in this administration. And I know New York City is a place of a strong opinion. And we'll be after the mayor leave the office 20 years from now, then when the historian, they will be talking about a lot of things that we accomplished. And for me as a council member, doing my job as a legislator, having a very great opportunity to passing a number of initiatives, working with many leaders at the council and here led by the mayor. I just want to, put on the table in your ear one bill that I introduced under the previous administration. I know that I have not pushed hard on this one, but it's the one that is called to allow drivers to park the car after sanitation clean the street. That will help a lot to reduce idling. Because when people are looking for parking around, if the time to clean the streets at 8:30 to 10 and sanitation clean at 9, why we need to have drivers going around? So we will be working together, and I hope again that we will reduce idling so that we can reduce the level of contamination in our street. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Okay, we've got our environmental experts for the city of New York here. You've got me here, but most importantly, you got Billy here. We are ready for your questions. Katie.
I just wanted to know, this is a big initiative. Can you tell us how much money the city's spending?
Very clever.
Well done.
Very clever. Laura Anglin, is that you or Vinny? Who's got it? Vinny.
So to get this message out, and you know, we've already had inspectors on the street doing this work, but to get the message out to 8.5 million New Yorkers and everybody else who comes into the city, we're going to spend about $1 million. And Billy, no charge, no fee to Billy. He's doing it on his own, but media is about $1 million.
Mayor, can we ask?
I'm sorry.
This obviously passed last year. So how much does the city, how much did the city pay in 2018 for people who did report the fines, and how do you guard
Vinny will
against
go over what's happened. I think and I thank Helen for her leadership. We already see it working, but I think the thing is, this is going to be night and day. This is now going to be a full court press to get this to be something that every New Yorker hears about, feels. I think you're going to see a very, very intense effort here. But go ahead on, Vinny, I'm sorry, on what's happened so far.
Yeah. So in the last 12 months that the law has been in place, we've been basically focusing on trucks and buses, the commercial type vehicles. Almost 5,000 violations have been issued thus far. Many of them coming in from citizens who are now allowed to videotape when they see idling, send that in through the DEP portal, and they can get 25% of the violation fee returned to them. We are now, through this campaign, going to start really getting the message out to private car owners who, you know, I think we all see idling. Right now, during the past several months, we've just been kind of knocking on windows and saying, hey, you know about this local law, but now we're going to start being more aggressive.
I want to just point my fellow citizens at a target, because I have spent time with my kids taking them to Bolt buses and different low-cost buses. Those guys idle like at a ridiculous rate. So there's a target for you, everyone. Go check on them. Go ahead, Dave.
Mayor, can we ask Billy Idle just can we just ask you, how did this come across your desk, if you will? How did you first hear? Did the mayor call you? Did somebody?
Yes, I think there's a lady in.
Did you say, oh, it's a cute idea, good idea?
Yeah, I think it was a fun play on my name, and yeah, and a great way. It's a great way for me to give back. That's what I thought. You know.
Thank you. That's right. We appreciate you.
Can you get paid for reporting a government worker who's idling, and how much?
Let's talk about.
What happens to the worker who
All
gets caught idling?
You want to do that?
So, you know, we're trying to get the message out, and Keith Kerman is here from DCAS, who runs the entire city fleet, to get the message out to all city employees that you're going to be in a little bit of hot water if you're caught idling. So that's where we are at this point. Right now, under the local law, it's just for commercial vehicles, so I'm not sure if city vehicles are included in that, but, you know, we're certainly making a strong message to all city drivers. I think it's probably not a good idea.
Vinny's referring to execution. Go ahead.
A question for Billy Idle. Sorry.
His name's Billy.
I don't want you to get confused, Mr. Mayor. But do you drive a car? When was the last time you drove a car? Are you ever, do you ever have an occasion to actually idle a car?
Yeah, I mean, I do drive a car, yeah, but not very often. I mainly ride motorcycles.
Amen, brother. That's the answer we were all.
Idle your motorcycle? I mean...
No, you don't, because it can overheat. So you watch it. You know, you have to. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you have to be careful.
On the logistics of some people in the public complain that you have to get a notarized letter, an affidavit in order to do this. Is that going to be made easier?
Yeah, so right now the way the system works is, and you know, I think I have the DEP portal here, and while I'm talking, I'll bring it up. But if you go to dep.nyc.gov, it'll take you to a link that gives you the NYC Idling Complaint. You fill out the form, you upload your video that you took of the idling, it gets sent to DEP or other enforcement agencies in the city. Violation gets issued to the company. Many times they'll get it, they'll pay it. If they want to challenge it, then there's a process. It gets more if the company wants to challenge it, it does get a little more complicated.
Yeah, but to the question, should it be simplified? Yes.
Mayor, how conscious are you about more detail when they take you around the city that they're not idling? Sometimes you walk into a place, you're delivering a proclamation, and you've got to get some people. Are you 100% positive that they're not idling while they're in there? And as a follow-up...
Well, I'm going to do the first one. I'll come to your follow-up because I have an important answer. Obsessive. Obsessive.
Yeah.
Like all the blanking time. So no, I'm like, this is a thing. This is like a real thing for me. So the members of my detail could give you many examples of me reminding them the glories of not idling, but they also help the earth regularly because we have a thing when I'm walking down the street and someone's idling, I just point toward the car and the members of the detail go and educate that individual they should stop idling. So this is a ritual. If I'm walking with Shirlane, I just go like that and they know exactly what it means. So the fact is, we've all been miseducated. This is not, we're trying to be clear and we're trying to be edgy, but this is not like we're all bad human beings because we were taught to idle. We were all taught to idle. Let's be clear about this. We were taught, you get a car, you can do whatever the hell you want with your car. Doesn't matter what it means to people's lives, doesn't matter what it means for the environment. That's how society was organized. And if it's cold out, idle and use the heat. If it's warm out, idle and use the air conditioning. That's how we were all taught. It's idiocy because we are on the verge of losing our Earth. We're in the middle of an existential crisis. So every little bit helps. So here's what I would say. And I often have this conversation with people. If it's like, it's a day where instead of using air conditioning, you could just shut off your engine and open the window. Or if it's not comfortable in your car, maybe you should get out of your car, right? And there's a lot of it. I also think, is Chief Morris here? Yeah. Chief, just come up for 1 second. Because this is an associated point. I think Chief Morris would really like it if people would not leave their car running with the keys in it and walk away from their car. Chief, could you just clarify that would be helpful?
There's always a segue with our concern regarding reducing crime. We've seen a trend throughout the city involving GLAs, grand larceny autos, where folks have left their cars running, usually in the vicinity of their residence, to warm it up, and the car has now been stolen. So in terms of our crime initiatives, please don't leave the car running.
So I'm still going. Chief Morris doesn't want you to idle. Billy Idle doesn't want you to idle. Okay? I mean, this is a very strong coalition right here. So, thank you, Chief. But seriously, it is, it's gotten so ridiculous. And I understand why someone would like a warm car in the morning. I'm not missing that. But to the point that polluting the earth and leaving your car in danger of being stolen is happening all the time. This is a big percentage of stolen cars are cars left idling. So the whole moral of the story is don't idle. Your next question. I honor your question, I'll try one last time. I have a particular role to play in this world. It's just reality. I represent 8.6 million people. And what I need to do, given my schedule, given security, given the things I need to do to stay healthy and strong, to be able to do this work every day, this is what works for me. I'm not asking anyone to understand it if you can't understand it. It's what works for me. If I didn't have security, I wouldn't have security, but I do. If that car wasn't going any place I was going anyway, be a different story. It's just the full reality I'm living. But what I try to do in every way is ask the question, where can we do good things for this earth? Recycling that we all do obsessively around here. The way we're reducing the car fleet of this city. all the things we're doing to try and constantly reduce emissions. But I'm just in a very, very particular situation where I can tell you with assurance in 22 months, I will not own a car, and I will never own a car again. So whoever said about the zip cars and everything, that's exactly right. I think anybody in New York City who can, stop owning cars if you can, use zip cars, use subways, use buses, use whatever. I will lead the way by example in 22 months.
All right. That's right. Way to go, Mayor de Blasio.
Billy has to leave in a second. He's got some artistry, some music to create. He's got a world to entertain. I just want to see if any journalist has a Billy Idol question before Billy Idol has to leave. Rich. Mr. Idol.
No, I live in Los Angeles.
But you're hoping one.
Thinking about coming back, most definitely. Especially with all this clean air. Yeah!
Last call. Anyone else for Billy? Go ahead, Katie.
Billy, do you take public transportation when you come to New York? Do you take the subway or the bus when you come to New York?
Yeah, normally taxis and things like that. So, but maybe I will take the subway again. Yeah, I used to way back in the '80s. I was on the subway for my guitar. You're not taking it.
That was a representation of the 1980s right there. You're not taking it. Everybody, let's thank Billy Idol. There you go. Okay. Other questions? Yes.
Cars are a small target. Cruise ships, much bigger problem with idling. Just a few days ago, Stringer asked the EDC to have a plan to end the idling of cruise ships at the 2 terminals here. Do you have any plans? Are you going to push for the EDC to do something about that?
I think that's a meritorious idea. So, yeah, there's been some real good work done with cruise ships already, but if there's more we can do, we should do it. So I will make sure our team follows up with you today on the next steps we'll take. Anna?
Just a follow-up for the commissioner. How much have regular citizens gotten from tattling on people so far, and when did that start? Because I'm a little confused. I thought it was last year, but then someone mentioned 2018.
So as Councilmember Rosenthal mentioned, it was a local law in 2018. It started to be implemented in 2019. And again, the focus to date has been on commercial vehicles, but now as we get the message out, we're letting everyone know if you're in a private car.
I'm literally asking, people have been tattling on commercial vehicles and supposedly getting part of the fines. How much have people gotten from tattling so far?
Yeah, so I don't have the total number, but you haven't 387,000. And they get 25% of the violation.
Okay. Couple more on this, and we're going to other things. Go ahead.
Clarification, this isn't just commercial vehicles, it's also private car owners.
Commercial vehicles, buses. Commercial vehicles and buses.
So not any like a regular like...
No, commercial vehicles and buses, that's the law. Okay, anyone else? Okay, let me do this, guys. Again, we're going to try and do this more often. On the technical stuff, they will get you, or, it's getting cold, we have off topic to do. Anything on details, they'll get you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just like wondering, I think
Dude, you can ask this question all day long, and I've given you the answer. Go look at my wonderful hybrid Pacifica. It is what it is. Last call.
Just define idling for us. How long does someone have to idle?
Vinny, what is the official legal definition?
So it's 3 minutes outside of a school zone or a hospital zone where it's 1 minute.
Last call.
How do you protect against people like faking it? Like what?
Faking what?
Like faking.
That's an awfully personal question. No, what are you at? You mean someone pretending someone was idling when they weren't idling? Okay.
If you go on the website, you'll see the instructions, and we have to see an emissions. We have to hear some noise. So there's instructions.
Okay. Go to off topic.
Mayor, yesterday you gave a very full-throated endorsement of street safety efforts inside the driver abatement bill. As you know, on Staten Island, there are a bunch of people who are putting up yellow ribbons on camera poles to alert drivers that there are
I think it is something that reflects a conversation we still have not had that we need to have. The folks who don't want to get a really hefty fine, I understand that. I mean, people, and look, I'm here to support working people, and for working people, you get one of those speed camera fines that really affects your life. So I don't blame anyone for having the impulse of saying, hey, if I can help avoid people getting that fine, I want to do that. I want people to understand that if we would just all slow down, we don't have a problem here. Everyone's safe and there are no fines. So I don't feel like, I'm not trying to accuse people or be negative to people if they feel like they're putting that up to protect themselves and their fellow driver from a fine. I think they're missing the point. I want to help them get the point. So we'll have a conversation with folks in the community. The goal here is to get people to slow down. Whatever will get us there, that's what I want to do. Again, I'm just, that's my answer for now. I think there's more to it. Go ahead. The last 2 days have been horrendous. Everyone knows I'm a parent and my kids went to our public schools, and this is just sick. It's horrible what's happened. But I want to be careful because, the vast majority of parents, every single day who bring their kid to school in a car do it safely. So I want to really be mindful. We're always trying to strike a balance here. And I think Vision Zero is about getting people to handle their vehicles differently. It is not always about the idea that there's not going to be any vehicles. It is about handling your vehicles differently. So one of the things we announced in State of the City, which is real basic, is I'm ensuring that every single school zone has the stoplights and stop signs it needs. We've added a lot more school crossing guards who are crucial, and then everything else with Vision Zero, especially the speed cameras around schools. I think that's how you address the problem. I'm not in favor of a ban. I am in favor of doing everything we can to make sure it's safe. Go ahead, Rich. It concerns me for sure, Rich, but I think that doesn't change the strategy at all. You still have to get it from somewhere, right? So if you have symptoms and you get health care right away, it's going to allow us to stop this. And I do think it complicates a little bit in terms of just identification. It used to be, if you went to one province of China, and then it was if you went to China or your family member went to China. Now it's getting more diffuse. That is harder, but it doesn't change the basic game plan. If you have those symptoms, get healthcare right away. If you need help, call 311. If people do that, we're going to be okay. And that actually is what New Yorkers have been doing for 5 weeks, which is why we don't have a single case. Nolan? So, because of my knee surgery, the medications that I'm on have been keeping me awake. That's what compels me to be awake. When I'm awake, I want to read something. And I read the story about the CNN town hall. And I'm reading the story and minding my own business. And I get to the last line. This is Anderson Cooper having really pressed him on stop and frisk. And when he says, I hope my successor has learned from my mistakes, there was a surrealism to it that just drove me crazy. It was like, we have received wisdom from him, and now we will understand that stop and frisk was wrong. I'm like, what planet are you on, dude? This was a decade ago. People knew it was wrong and tried to tell you, and you wouldn't listen. So I was just expressing real frustration that, besides the presidential campaign only apology, it's just, how about a real apology where you recognize that everyone and their kid brother were telling you it was wrong and you ignored it? Go ahead. I appreciate your editorial question. I said, no, but listen, you said, oh, you're going to do everything and then you did this. Let's be real. I said it clear as a bell. We're doing the last phase of Queens Boulevard, and I really would appreciate it for those of you doing advocacy journalism, God bless you. If someone's done the first 3 phases of Queens Boulevard, and no one else ever did Queens Boulevard, recognize that it's obvious we're going to finish. We've said we're going to finish. A new idea was put on the table of how to do it. I've said it. To me, it's a new idea. Don't tell me it's a new idea if it's not a new idea to me. Guys, you can be sour in your faces all day long. I am living my truth. I had never heard the idea before. It had never been presented to me. So I said, because the council member raised it, and I really respect her work, I said, we're going to evaluate quickly, and we're going to do one of these things, and we're going to get done. I said it really clearly. Go ahead. We're dealing with CDC. We'll deal with anyone, but CDC has been the go-to.
Mayor, 2 big primaries coming up, South Carolina and Super Tuesday. Are you traveling at all for candidates?
What I've said to the Sanders campaign is, whatever way I can help, you decide what you want to do. Right now, what they've wanted me to do is the media appearances with the national networks. That's what I'm doing. If they want me to travel and I can, I will.
To get back to your kind of political Twitter account, is it always you that tweets?
No.
Sometimes a staffer?
Yes.
And, there's been some fairly aggressive tweets aimed at Buttigieg. Why is that?
It's very personal in the sense that it's the same exact thing. I'm a very nice person until you provoke me. So what Pete Buttigieg said in the previous debate, on election night in Nevada. What he said about the Bernie Sanders movement was just profoundly unfair. 13 million people voted for the guy in 2016, and he's won 3 primaries, or primaries and caucuses. And to suggest it was this exclusionary extremist movement, it just drove me crazy. I'm like, just don't lie about it. So I wanted to speak very bluntly, because I was offended for millions of people who look at Bernie Sanders and says, he actually represents me. He represents my values. So don't put down a whole movement of people. That's just not right. That's what generated it.
I wanted to get your reaction to former Mayor David Dinkins endorsing Mike Bloomberg this week for president.
I disagree with former Mayor David Dinkins.
Have you spoken with him about it? Would you like to?
It's too late. Go ahead. They're willing to?
It's damaging the party to make sure Bernie Sanders doesn't get the
That's idiotic and against everything the Democratic Party stands for. I mean, people have got to take a deep breath. First of all, if you look at a huge cross-section of national polls, Bernie Sanders is actually the best position to beat Donald Trump, which I thought was the whole reason we were trying to do all this. Folks need to be honest about it. And I've said for years and years, progressives, we accepted moderate candidates. If they won fair and square, we went to battle for them. It's time for moderates to be willing to go to battle for a progressive. And Bernie has earned it over and over and over again. So this is just madness. We got a guy who is winning, who's one of the most popular political figures in America, who's got total clear integrity and consistency, exactly what works now in elections, someone who's plausibly not part of the problem and actually has the kind of ideas that could change things. And if he's our nominee, anyone who's ever called themselves a Democrat should fold in and work for him and help him win, because of course he can win. Of course he can win. I'm going to bear with you.
Both Gersh and Julianne work for the same publication, and I just have to point out the way you spoke to her is very different from the way you answered his question.
Oh, I've spoken to him much worse many times.
Like the stark contrast just now is...
You can editorialize too. I have tangled with him 1,000 times before. I love what they stand for. I just wish they would ask questions objectively and let me answer them rather than try to put the words in my mouth. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead. No, it was the night of Nevada. I was sitting, like I think a lot of you, watching endless returns because we thought maybe there'd be a return at some point that would tell us how many people had voted and all. And it went on and on. And so I was like, it's 8 o'clock, it's 9 o'clock, it's 10 o'clock. And so I ended up watching everyone's speeches because I was hoping there would actually be an answer on the election. I expected Pete to come up and do a, we did good and on to the next state. And I was just shocked. And right after that, I did it. No, you and everyone has asked that 1,000 times. That's not what it's about. He literally, in what should have been, talk about himself and his own movement, that's great. But he went out of his way to attack another movement, I thought, very unfairly, and I just couldn't take it. And I thought it was also incredibly unhumble, a moment where if you lose, especially, some humility is called for. Why not just, if he wants to disagree, disagree. But what he did was like putting down a whole movement of people while he was losing, and it just set me off. Go ahead. Not at this moment. That's up to the Sanders campaign. How I don't understand the mechanics nowadays because it's changed a lot, but it's up to the Sanders campaign. Again, you're talking to the wrong guy. Yeah. I think we should avoid this being decided at the convention. I literally believe that. I mean, it's a simplistic answer, but it's actually the real answer. I think Democrats across the board should feel like this should be decided by the voters. I really believe that. And if people get with that program, we wouldn't even have to worry about a contested election and a brokered election. Disgusting and horrifying. Horrifying. And we have to every single day try and make sure that people go into public service are the right people. And sometimes they're missed, and when that happens, we have to immediately get them out of there, and they have to face the consequences. She is making her own decision, I assure you. Fair question that you've asked very objectively, and I thank you. Because one, no one presented the alternative to me previously. That's a mistake in this whole process here. That's on the bureaucracy. Two, the council member has been a very strong advocate for change on Queens Boulevard for a long time. She made a personal appeal to me to consider an option. Since no one had ever told me about the option before, nor the pros or cons, I said, I'm going to respect you and your role in the process. We'll consider it quick. Gersh, one thing you and I will agree on, I have been more than willing to take out parking in the name of safety, and I've gotten plenty of people who don't like it. But if she says this might be another way to achieve the same goal, what's the harm in giving it a look? But we have to get it done this year either way. On that note of unity, you get the last call.
There was a pretty gruesome private garbage truck accident about a month and a half ago where the woman in Brooklyn was split in half, and there's been no...
Okay, what's that question, please?
There's been no news yet from the Business Integrity Commission on...
I don't have an update, but we will get you one. Thank you, everyone.